just say it because Matt's too afraid to. He's talking about the dick.
Hi, I'm Matt with No Market Media.
And I'm Randall. Today, Matt and I are continuing down our journey of April's guilty pleasure films with a movie from 1984, The Ice Pirates. Before I get going, I want to let you guys know that a friend of the channel already did like a retrospective making of this film. So be sure to go check out the Unapologetic Geeks channel for The Ice Pirates if you want to know more about the actual backstory for this film, because that's not something we're going to get into very much. The Ice Pirates stars Robert Ulrich, Mary Crosby, Michael Roberts, Angelica Houston, Ron Perlman, and John Matuszak! It is co-written and directed by Stuart Raffill, who's also well known for The Philadelphia Experiment, Lost in Africa, and, of course, the E.T. spoof Mac and Me.
In a future where water is scarce, pirates steal ice to make a living. A princess decides to hire the pirates to help her find her father, who went missing while searching for a mythical world full of water. It had a $9 million budget and earned more than $14 million. Today, that would be about a $25 million budget and more than $39 million in earnings. It is near universally panned by critics and received average to below average reviews from audiences. Alright, if you guys haven't guessed, this is one of my guilty pleasure films, The Ice Pirates. And I don't know if it's too hard to realize why. I mean, this came out in 84, so this movie came out before I was born. So I was pretty young when I watched it. And to me, it's kind of like, you know what? It's a little bit similar to Star Wars.
Which was the point?
And, you know, what I really gravitated to when I was a kid and stuff was, like, the robots and stuff, the hijinks with the robots. To me, you know, that was close enough to, like, I don't know, kind of Star Wars-y and maybe, like, Short Circuit.
Well, you know what? This might not be on my list for my guilty pleasure, but I guess I'll just say it's also a guilty pleasure film of mine. Just maybe not as highly vaunted as in the Matt's, family, but I will say that it's Matt's dad who's the one who, similar to a lot of kind of goofball 80s films, was like, Randall, you gotta see this. You gotta see this. And that's where I saw Ice Pirates. This movie is bonkers. Like, seriously, just the most zany, crazy things going on. You can't take it serious at all. You have to go in knowing it's all tongue-in-cheek, kind of spoofing other movies and genres and everything, and be okay with that. That's one of the things. It's not a good movie. From any of the normal perspectives of what makes a good movie, this really isn't. But it's still fun to just watch, which is weird.
Like I said, it's like the absurdity. It's where the point where the absurdity is to the point where it's...
I think, good. I'm getting too old for this.
It's meaningful absurdity.
Yep. We did a review a while back of Napoleon Dynamite, which is like absurd, but like the wrong kind of absurd for me. This one, instead of like just being unbelievably absurd, is just, it's so absurd, of course I can't believe it. It's funny. Alright, so, I mean, as with everything about this movie, even the plot's ridiculous. Water is so stupidly abundant in the galaxy, like on a galaxy-wide scale. It's everywhere. The idea that the galaxy's running out of water is ridiculous. But really, that is just the plot to get you into the actual plot, which is, let's, find this water world and the princess's father.
Right.
Like, really, that's kind of the main emphasis of the movie. It was once called the Water World or something like, or not Water World, but something similar. Or the Ice Planet, whatever. It's in Eric's review. Then it's like, oh no, here's the actual plot. Find the father.
I think it's funny that we often think of, like pirates, like swashbuckling pirates as something that like sails on water, and this time it's the pirates that are actually trying to steal the water. I agree with Randall. I mean, really, that is the setup. It's like this quest to look for her father, and then the water world that is like our salvation or whatever, our hope or whatever for future to defeat the Empire.
No, the Templars. Defeat the Templars. Totally not the Empire.
It's weird to me, the main characters aren't the ones that really stand out. It's really the supporting cast that really stands out for me or whatever. Maybe part of it is because they are such well-known character actors or whatever, like today.
Today,
yep, then like they're whatever. But I think they play their role right, especially like our main like swashbuckler or whatever. I mean, he's that typical, I guess, what you'd say like smuggler, captain, pirate, or whatever you want to say.
These characters are all stereotypes of stereotypes.
Yes.
Or caricatures of stereotypes even.
Yep.
It's like they went full in on pirates. Guys, we're talking about space pirates. And they're wearing like the pirate boots and they use sabers. Yeah, there's laser guns and stuff in it too, and robots like Matt mentioned earlier.
Yep.
But like all of these characters are just playing, here's the captain role. Here's the like loyal first mate role. Here's the otherwise goofy kind of character John Matuzak plays. And like Ron Perlman, like the character actor who's really well known, obviously, at this point. He's just like, he's just the other crew guy, like that's it. They're just filling roles.
Yep.
But in such a gooftastic movie as Ice Pirates, you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Normally you're like, oh, that's really stereotypical, but I don't care.
Like I said, to me, those were really what stood out, especially when you said John Matuzak. I mean, the different hijinks and stuff that he does or whatever to get through different situations.
God go with you guys. Can I get us in? Angelica Houston's character is weird.
She is weird, but I do like it, or especially when we get that defending scene or whatever, the sword fight.
The sword fight. The head.
How do you feel now?
Obviously, we had a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is like, it's sci-fi, but it's comedy sci-fi. It's obviously meant spoofy, It's not the best, okay? There's nothing about Ice Pirates that's the best in any regards. It's not the funniest. You're not really laughing at the jokes. You're laughing at the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's so ridiculous that laughing at the movie is just, I think it's the way it was supposed to be, honestly. I mean, just it was fun, honestly. I laugh. And if it's a comedy and I'm laughing at it, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right there with you with like the spoof and stuff. It's not like a Spaceballs where we're taking like a direct look right at like Star Wars just changing, or Wizard of Oz or whatever, and just changing a little bit. I mean, it's kind of riffing. It's taking like the ideas and stuff from those movies and putting it in something different or whatever. But yeah, I totally agree. This is a movie, I think, not just the jokes, but the everything, the over the topness, especially like you were saying too, like the costumes and everything, like all that is supposed to be laughed at, in my opinion, in this movie. And I think that was what adds a bit to the charm of this movie, is the fact that you're laughing at certain aspects of how it was done and how it all comes on screen.
There's a fine line between spoofing and parody.
Mm-hmm.
Spaceballs is a parody.
Mm-hmm.
Scary Movie is a parody.
Yep.
Spoofing is just making fun of something. Plain and simple. It's like, all right, we want to capitalize on the thing that is Star Wars right now.
Mm-hmm.
We want to capitalize on the science fiction craze. Just make a comedy. Very fine line between those two genres.
Yep.
This one, weirdly, nails that.
I'm glad, of course, it's comedy. They didn't go serious with it. It definitely would not work if you go serious. It's not going to be like, hey, we're going to put this up there with Star Wars. It's really like, hey, we're going to make this movie because people like Star Wars, and we're going to show that we're not really going for Star Wars.
Not at all.
So, I've seen this movie quite a few times, so I can't really say didn't see coming. But I think, older you pay attention to some things more than you did as kids. And this kind of goes into what we've been talking about, the ridiculousness of things. And I'm going to specifically talk about like the costumes and the sets and how sometimes we're using, I think because of budget, we're using like real world at the time 84 like sets, like set in the real world. And yet our characters look completely out of place because they're in industrial settings with these crazy outlandish costumes. So that's something I did not pay attention to really at all watching as a kid. But now I'm like, wow, they really do stick out like a sore thumb.
I'll just say it because Matt's too afraid to. He's talking about the dick. Which was filmed in a modern day at the time, like Budweiser plant.
Yeah.
I mean, man, Star Trek did that in 2009. They filmed at a Budweiser plant for the engine room.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, wow, okay. Who knew that Budweiser plants were so science fiction? For me, it's always the same thing. Every time I watch it, because I don't watch this as like a regular cadence, like a lot of my other personal guilty pleasure films, it's the time warp. The time warp just gets so ridiculous. I love it. It's just such an interesting idea of you go in here and you got to get through the time warp. If you don't hit it just right, you'll basically age into oblivion. And then to see everyone just get older, and of course the mains have a baby, and then the baby gets older, and at the end of everything, to be rescued by your adult son, also played by Robert Urich. It's crazy. It's zany, and I love it.
It is, and I love too that it was set up too. Like you said, it's known like this would kind of like happen when we meet like our other pirate character who just happens to be old, and like what happened
to you?
The bard.
Yeah, the bod.
Time warp.
Yep, and then to actually see it like played out and stuff, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if it wasn't a clue already that this is a zany, over the top movie, you're definitely gonna get this point now.
I mean, lesser movies. I don't know if lesser. Wow. That's better movies? More highly praised movies? I don't know. Even they fail to set up some things and you're like, wow, that's out of left field. Like, the time warp is set up multiple times. They're like, oh, and even if this planet does exist, it's past, like, we can't get through the time warp. They talk about it.
I kind of love, it's interesting that you go through that time warp and then at the other end, you're like right back to where you were before you got in. It's like, oh, well, we know like everything that just happened in that time warp, but now it's almost as if none of that happened.
They're out of a job. I love that they pull up to just like modern day Earth, like Earth as it is, like that's weird. Who cares? It's Battlestar Galactica. All right, so I've already said this. Ice Pirates is not a good movie, okay? And I feel like probably someone who has no nostalgic feelings for it, like if you're not already part of this like weird cult fan base, probably would look at it and be like, I just don't see what you guys are talking about. I don't see why it's funny. That's fine. Obviously, that's part of what makes it a guilty pleasure film. But for me, there's the nostalgia, and there's always the like, hey, I was introduced to this by a friend's father and family, and I'm always going to enjoy it for those memories, and I get to laugh at it because it's just so kooky. Yep.
Yeah, I'm right there in the same boat or whatever. I don't know that I would say this is a good film. I don't know if it's one that I would say, too, that, like, hey, if you haven't seen it, you're going to like this. But I'm probably going to be one of those people like, hey, if you haven't seen it, check it out if you're into sci-fi and see what you think about. But it's always, like you said, I always tell people, like, hey, this is a ridiculous, crazy movie, so that that's what you're getting into when you watch this film. But yes, I still enjoy it for, like you said, same thing too, memories of watching it before and liking it and different connections that it has. And I like the stuff that it's, riffing on and stuff too. So yeah, I still enjoy this movie because I still find it fun to watch.
And don't forget, space herpes.
The space herpes.
What?
Space herpes.
That's disgusting!
Well, if you are in that small group of people who have seen the Ice Pirates and actually kind of enjoy it, let us know in the comments below. Be sure to go check out our playlist of other Guilty Pleasure films. We got a bunch there. We'll be doing this again next April, obviously. And go check out our other stuff. We have other new movie reviews, flashback movie reviews, TV show reviews, and some deeper dive discussions.
We also have a Facebook page. Be sure to check us out there. We post a day before our videos come out to let you know what the topic of that video is going to be. We also post some other things from our fandoms. But if you don't have Facebook, don't worry about it. Just check us out on our YouTube page. Our videos come out regularly. For now, I'm Matt with No Market Media. Have a good day, everyone.
And I'm Randall. See everyone next time.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.